right, listen, guys, moving along to our TV movie segment for the week. There was a movie that just came out. We referenced it earlier on Netflix called You People, and it's got a lot of people talking. And so, You People, here's the official synopsis. It says it follows a new couple and their families who find themselves examining modern love and family dynamics amidst class and cultures, societal expectations, and generational differences. And so, basically, in the movie, you got Jonah Hill, who's playing Jewish gentleman. It looks like they're in LA, I believe. Yeah, they're in LA for sure. Playing a Jewish gentleman who starts dating Lauren London, who is a Black woman who's Muslim. And they start dating, and it kind of just goes through the family dynamics and stuff like that. There's a lot of stars in this movie. I mean,
a lot of stars.
Eddie Murphy, Nia Long, Lala Anthony, Mike Epps, Andrew Schultz, Dion Cole, just a whole bunch of people. Like every time people's popping up, like, oh, this person here, there. And so, yeah, man, what you thought about the movie, man? You got a chance to see it?
Yeah, I did get a chance to see it. In a nutshell, I think I liked the movie.
Okay.
The cast helped for sure.
True.
It's Netflix, so the production is dope. The music selection, the cinematography was like, it's top tier. So, and even the story, like when you really, really, really peel back the story, I like the message that they were trying to go for. So I like it.
Okay.
We can get into it, but I'll just say that off the rip. I liked it. What about you?
I did like it as well. It was enjoyable. I don't usually watch comedies like that. Just because to me, I think sometimes it's hard to do comedies. I do like watching stand-up. I watch stand-up kind of often from different comedians, even like lower known people, lesser known people. But to me, this was good, pretty funny, man. Pretty funny. I thought Eddie Murphy did a great job. To me, his characters had like some of the funniest lines. He was really, really good. And I was like, okay, is this just his genius or
Side note.
What's up?
Maybe, how do you feel about Eddie Murphy in general as an actor / comedian? Like, are you a Eddie Murphy fan? Let me just ask you that.
I would say yes, because I watched Eddie Murphy movies back when he was in his prime, even though I wasn't necessarily around when these came up, but like in the 80s and 90s, I believe it was probably him in his heyday. So I watched his stand-up Raw. I've seen Delirious as well, which were funny, but crazy. Like those stuff probably wouldn't fly now. So I've seen him doing that. I like Beverly Hills Cop a lot. And he had other movies where he was kind of like the main action guy. He was kind of like what Will Smith did in the 2000s, / maybe Mahershala Ali doing now, or that one other guy. He was kind of the biggest or one of the biggest actors in general. So he had some really good movies and things like that. But I think in general, it's harder to do comedies, like I said. So to me, I'm not necessarily run into a comedy movie to run. So he had also the phase where he did Dr. Dolittle and stuff like that. Those weren't all that to me. But at his heyday, it was good. He also had that movie Dolomite Is My Name that came out a couple years ago on Netflix. I really liked that. That was a good comedy. It was a more adult comedy thing and stuff like that. So people like Eddie Murphy, man, and I respect him because if you go back, have you seen his stand-up, Raw or Delirious?
I have. I respect Eddie Murphy for who he is and what he's done for the culture, for comedy. But unpopular opinion, bro. Not an Eddie Murphy fan, bro. I just really could. I like, in like, you know what I'm saying. Don't come for me, people. But in a nutshell,
yeah, best part of Shrek, maybe, son.
Listen. I could leave Eddie Murphy, son. You know how they put it in the list where they be like choose one, gotta go. Depending on who the other people are, son, Eddie Murphy is a clean and easy gotta go, son. For me personally.
Okay.
So
I just leave other comedians. You're saying
that's just a sidebar. Yeah, like just in general, like honestly, like even in this movie, I could have dealt with a different person, man. You know what I'm saying? Like the comedy that he was trying to bring in, the persona, the person that he was playing as the dad, I just didn't really believe it, honestly, bro.
Really?
Yeah, I'm like, this is Lauren London's dad. He's supposed to be big and bad, Muslim, like super black, super pro black, like really enforcing, like come on, bro. Like I don't believe that role, son, honestly. I'm good.
Tell you where it may have fell apart to me is that I feel like, because actually like my dad's side of the family is actually Muslim. And so to me, I feel like where it fell apart a little bit was that he wasn't that devout as they were trying to portray it.
Right. That's
He
what
was
I'm
supposed to
saying.
be like, I'm this devout, like, nah, but then, he was not
He kind
necessarily
of
following the traditional, maybe Muslim views. If you're going to take such a hard stance against, like, yo, we need to do
right.
this, you wouldn't necessarily behave in some of the ways he's behaving, like with the cursing. I guess they was even one point in the movie, he was living a wild life himself when he was younger. So that was maybe the only thing where it's like, he wasn't necessarily embodying those traditions or the views.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't want to like. I'm not gonna harp on it too bad because it's comedy and the whole movie was a comedy, but it was like really for me, it comes down to a lot of shows that I watch, a lot of movies that I watch. Is like, do I believe this character? Like, does the character that this person is playing draw me into the fact that I forget that they are who they are? You talk about like the great actors, right? Leonardo DiCaprio, the range in that he can do. So it's like when he does something like, what was that, Remnant? Like while you're watching the movie, you're not like, that's Leonardo DiCaprio. You know what I'm saying? Like you're inside the movie. That whole movie, I was just like, this is Eddie Murphy. You know what I'm saying? Like I didn't feel like he embodied the character enough for me to believe that that was real. And also, probably it's like my biggest kind of concerns is like the chemistry between Jonah Hill and Lauren London. Kind of didn't believe it either.
I can see that. Yeah.
Like I just didn't like it like the movie in itself, like it had really great production and plot and storyline and even some comedic moments, but when it came down to it, I wasn't completely sold on the relationships and the roles that each individual actor was playing. There are some that I liked and I kind of like I believed them. Probably, very low key. My favorite person in the movie, my favorite actor in the movie was probably Sam J, the podcast, like his best friend, Jonah Hill's best friend.
True.
Like I believed her in that role. Like her stance, her comedy. Like I knew her a little bit. I watched a little bit of her content, which I actually really like. Her voice is dope and her storytelling is excellent. And so like her like jumping into this role is probably my favorite character in the movie. Oh yeah. Somebody I believe too was the mom, Jonah Hill's mom.
Sure. Yeah.
I'm terrible with actor names, guys. So like, don't kill me on this.
Yeah.
Julia.
The woman from what's that show? Oh man, I'm blanking. Not right.
I know what you're talking about.
Seinfeld.
The comedy joint.
Seinfeld. Yeah, she's the main woman in Seinfeld, actually.
Yeah. I believe her. Like I like everything that she was trying to get across in that, like her whole persona. I believed every bit of it.
That's true. She did come on.
What I'm saying?
Be extremely annoying and
from the
out of touch and
beginning
stuff. For sure, she definitely did that.
For
well.
sure,
she did that well.
I didn't think of her like, oh, that's that lady from something else that's playing this right now.
I
was in the role
until just now. Like we put up the thing, I didn't quite recognize that was her. Because
I guess that's good. I guess that's what I'm saying. So I mean,
I wouldn't have recognized her in general, though, honestly, just because she looked kind of like a more generic type. To me, she don't. I mean, for me personally, I wasn't necessarily big into Seinfeld.
Yeah.
So I wouldn't. I would have recognized Kramer or Seinfeld himself or the shorter guy for sure. But her, she kind of blended in a little bit to me. Where even Eddie Murphy, as soon as he come on screen, he's looked the same for now at least 20 years with that low haircut. He's had that exact same look.
Like that. Right.
That's literally his look now. He has the little low cut with the goatee. He's been looking like that for a long. So as soon as he came on screen, Eddie Murphy, you know what I'm saying? No denying.
Yeah. Hey, Mike Epps came in there.
Mike Epps was funny. I like Mike Epps' character, man.
I like Mike Epps' character. He was an uncle. It was believable.
Here's the thing, absolutely. But he also plays that same character about every movie. He plays that same little silly person that come in there, don't quite got his act together, make some funny comments. You know what I'm saying?
Shoot. What's up? So we got a chat. We got somebody in the chat. Ashley says that she believes Mike Epps should have been the dad. How you feel about that, dog?
I think so, but maybe because the thing is, if he would have just been like, if they would have maybe took out the Muslim factor and just been on the pro-black stuff, then maybe so.
Ooh,
He could have been funny. But since you had the Muslim factor, because he was also referencing that a few times, like this is why you should be
yeah.
my for that. I don't know if he would necessarily did body that role either. You get what I'm saying? Because then it's like you're doing too much, kind of like these are almost two different things.
Listen, I'm with it. I just told you my unpopular opinion, which I'm probably gonna get
Mhm.
destroyed in the chat for.
Oh no,
But
man, for sure, for
give
sure.
me Mike Epps in this role. I think I take him too. I think he plays that role a little bit better. Like, first of all, he's supposed to be. Listen, I think what it comes down to is that in some regard, Eddie Murphy in this movie was supposed to be
What you gonna say?
intimidating. He was supposed to be intimidating.
True, true.
And I don't get that from Eddie Murphy, like, period. It's kind of like even Jonah Hill, like his character, like if he was supposed to be the intimidating one, like would you really take him as the intimidating
No,
father figure? I wouldn't, but I think Mike Epps could have played that role better. Shoot, I feel like Deion Cole could have played that role a little bit better.
now Deion Cole, yeah, but even see that with Deion Cole, even though he was in there, he did great as well. He has like a range of like he don't ever get like he has more of that dry comedy. So if you would
Yeah,
keep like real stone faced throughout and like I'm not flinch, I'm not impressed at all. He would have did well as that. That's true because that's just him in general. So I think
that's
sometimes
what I'm saying.
when you see certain people, if they don't do like makeup or like a timepiece, for instance, you mentioned DiCaprio and The Revenant, or even I'm thinking about even to me Eddie Murphy and Dolomite Was My Name. He was good in that, but he had the little wig, little 70s. They gave him a little gut, so it's like you're not even
Yeah,
really seeing Eddie Murphy now. Where people couldn't hide themselves. So for sure, Jonah Hill kind of seems like just his regular self. What you think of Jonah Hill? Like you don't take him too serious, kind of silly, a little bit of a pushover. But he's also that character in Mad Movies. You know what I mean? Like that
yeah,
same guy. Like
yeah,
hey,
yeah.
hey
I,
guys.
I did like Lauren London in this. I mean, I know that I've seen the memes going around. It's Lauren London, right? Like we already know, but like
Uh-huh.
I think she played this role well. You know what I'm saying? Like, I think she
Sure.
played this role well, so I liked her in that. I just didn't believe their chemistry. Like
That's
it
true.
was a lot of moments like when they were supposed to be really sentimental and intimate, where like the hugs was just like
They didn't do enough of
they
that.
was like, you know what I'm saying? They was like this, you know what I'm saying? Like that's like you if you try to sell me on the fact that y'all are like madly in love in 6 months,
Yeah, they could have fast forwarded a little longer. They definitely could have fast forwarded a little
why it
longer.
had to be 6 months? Could have been a year.
2 years even. Yeah, I think one thing though that's interesting is that with their character, I feel like their first interaction was good. Their first interaction in the car, I think that was pretty good. And even the
Yep.
date, I like how they did a little time jump of them laughing and
Yeah.
stuff, but there wasn't quite enough of that to sell. That was pretty much it. Then they showed them in bed one time, but they were kind of like being silly. You know what I'm saying? So
I
it's
I
cool.
can
They
I
did, they
can
did do a great job establishing like, hey, we're together and like really attracted to each other.
I could rock with the silliness. I think I even like their banter. Their banter was believable. Like the actual dialogues that they had between each other, I think it was written very well and it was believable. It was just the actual physical chemistry on screen did not translate to the conversation, the dialogues that they were having.
I agree. I
And
agree.
I just can't do it. The last criticism that I will have for the show, it's not that bad, but I felt like they were pushing the whole sneakerhead community like a little too far. Like they tried a little too hard to be like, yo, like we're about the sneakers. Like this movie didn't need that. It didn't need to be like they're showing all these hype sneakers. I don't know like where you fall in the sneakerhead realm. I'm not like a super hype, but I'm definitely not, your average consumer, right? I'm like somewhere in between that. So I know the shoes they got out there, the Witherspoons, like the Air Maxes she found under the bed, like, oh, like these are his shoes, like, bro, but they're like super desirable hype sneakers and the Gucci slides she was wearing and all these other things. It was like, yo, like they was trying a little hard for me.
I
Like they
get
just
it.
didn't need that in this movie. Like, so, other than that, like I said, I was entertained.
Definitely was
This
entertaining. It's a
the
good watch. You can watch it through. It ain't boring at all. You
Yeah,
know.
the cast was dope. I mean, like that's a probably one of the dope, like name, like line for line, name for name, like probably one of the best
Yo,
casts like we've seen in a little while.
probably the best cast since, and that's why Netflix got that money, man. It's probably the best cast since that last Netflix movie, which was Don't Look Up. Don't Look Up had mad people too. That was a
Oh, that
Netflix
joint had
awesome.
mad people,
So
mad
Netflix
people.
just dropping the bag, bro. Netflix just
They
dropping
got
the
they
bag.
they, they got the money, son. They got the
But
money. Like
I liked it, man. Like I said, I don't usually watch comedy, so it's definitely entertaining. I did laugh a few times too. Some of the jokes I thought were witty. Even though you
yeah,
didn't necessarily believe the Eddie, you didn't think Eddie Murphy has some good like jokes though. You were saying?
I'm not an Eddie Murphy fan, bro. Like,
Okay.
so what I'm saying is like when he say jokes, they don't land for me as well as they do. Like they like, yo, that's what I'm saying. The stand up, like yo, Eddie Murphy stand up is crazy. But I watch it and I'm just like, huh, I get a couple of chuckles out of it. Like it's just not like that for me. I understand it's unpopular. I'll be on that side. But
It's also
yeah,
really old too. Eddie, you
Eddie
talking about
Murphy
30
humor
years
not,
ago.
yeah, his humor not like
That's
that
like
for me.
watching Cosby stand up. People said Cosby was
Yeah.
the 70s. I never watched Cosby stand up, but I bet it ain't that riveting watching it now.
Riveting? Did you say riveting, bro?
Absolutely. I said riveting. Collegiate
When the
vocabulary.
last time somebody said that? Yo, that's crazy.
Nah, it ain't
Nah,
gonna be
all
that
right. So
quick.
before I kill it, right? This is probably my best part of the movie because we've been hitting it with some. I said it, some things I like. I said a lot of things I didn't like, but probably what I liked the most about the movie was probably the message. I like the idea of like a romantic flick that was about a deeper connection other than physical appearance or like it was what they tried to sell you on, which they didn't do the greatest job on. What they tried to sell you on, it was like these two people, they got each other. Like they kept on saying in the show, like
That's true.
I want you to see me. And I think that was really dope and really relevant to like the world that we see today where people are on Instagram. It's so facade. So much of it is like what is perceived to be good. Like, oh, this is dope. But they were actually trying to really try to hone in on the fact that it was like, no, like the appearance didn't look great, but like beneath the surface, they really understood each other and they really rock with each other. And that's what I believe is actually the signs of a positive and a healthy relationship. So I would salute them on that. I did like what the writing, like I said, I like the writing of the show, the movie, but I just feel like there was a couple of things that they just kind of tried to force too hard, and maybe a couple of people that were out of position in terms of like the characters that they played.
And let me say this too. This is what I think, just in general. Like I said, I don't watch comedies as much, but low-key, little hot take. Usually rom-coms, which that was in a romantic comedy, they be decent though. Like to me, they never like, oh my, you must watch, but it's like, it's a good time, son. The
Yeah,
ones that
it's a
I have
good.
seen,
They got the good feels,
it's
the
a good
feelings.
feel. It's pretty entertaining. The pace is usually pretty fast, so it ain't like this young dragon or this young slow. Even though the movie is about 2 hours, but it's a pretty good pace and stuff. So yeah, man, romantic comedies in general, pretty good, man. This one will have some laughs. But let me get your thoughts on this, bro. What did you think about, I guess, the couple? Because at one point in the movie, spoiler alert, I think we've done a good job before, not really spoiling it, but here's a spoiler alert. They kind of showed that basically the differences at one point became too much between their family, the familial differences.
Yeah,
Um, what do you think when dating or in marriage? Could there be certain things which are like too much to overcome, or like because this one they had the fact that Jonah Hill's mom
interracial.
was just very like that's once again going back to awareness, no self-awareness at all, just very inappropriate, saying
Yeah,
kind of stuff that was very cringy consistently. And even Eddie Murphy's character to me, he was giving him a tough time, but it wasn't like crazy. Because I think a lot of dads we've seen that portrayed a lot where the dad is kind of giving the guy a tougher time. So I feel like Eddie
yeah.
Murphy's dad wasn't necessarily as bad, but the fact that race kept being brought up a lot, and then also on top of the race, you also had the religious beliefs that were contrasting as
That's a
well.
big one too. Yeah.
Yeah. So what do you
So
think?
the question you're having for me is, do you feel like that's an accurate depiction on what relationships, like, are obstacles that relationships have, or you feel like what's the question?
I'm not even sure how to phrase it exactly, but do you think there could be some things that even if two people love each other, but like, hey, there's
It's
just
too
too
much
many
to overcome.
factors that we can't, even though we have, because that's what happened in the movie. They still loved each other, but it was like, bro, everything else, every time we go out, it's a whole thing with my friends, with your friends, with my family, your family. It's just too much, man.
Yeah, hmm, it's a good question. I think
Let me say this too for the audience. So this is a spoiler, but what ended up happening is the reason they were able to get back together is that the family recognized kind of their ignorance. Eddie Murphy was like, you know what, I've been way too far on you. You kind of a good dude, even though you're white. It's fine. You treat my wife right. I mean, my daughter right. It's fine. And then the mom was like, yo, I'm because she kept like using her as like a token black and so much other stuff that she kept making every single thing about black. Even one thing that was kind of funny is like, as soon as she came in, she talked about police brutality. They
that was
talked
wild. That was a
exhibit. Yeah.
wild scene.
Yeah,
Bro,
it's
the
like,
man was
bro,
saying, yeah, 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 the dad singing John Legend is
yeah,
like
ordinary
that was
people.
crazy.
See, it's
He
pretty
came
funny,
back in
man.
the room,
Yeah, it's pretty funny. It's
ordinary
pretty funny.
people. That
Ordinary, he
joint
kept
was a
talking about
funny.
Exhibit, like, yo, I love Exhibit.
Yeah.
People are like,
Do you
what in
know
the
him?
world? Do you like Exhibit? What are we living in? So that's like, if somebody asks me, did you watch Pimp My Ride? And they keep talking like, bro, what? Why do you
Yeah.
keep bringing Exhibit up? Like, everyone like Pimp My Ride, but like, what are we talking about here? So they put basically the end of the movie, the people came together and they were like, yo, they recognized like I've been tripping. Essentially, let me do better. So that's the only
Yeah.
reason they were able to get back together. Because if it wasn't for that, it was too much. So the question you, Leland, is like, could there be a situation where two people love each other, but then everything else on the outside is like, bruh, it's too
I
much.
think I think so. And this is the reason why. I think me personally, you
Uh-huh.
know, having been in a relationship for a long time, just my position on it is that a relationship or love for that matter is a choice,
Mhm.
right? So like I feel like even at the core of it, like you have to choose, like both people have to choose that they want to do this thing. They have to commit to it. And you know, ideally or realistically, there are things that could make someone choose, or it could just be so hard for them to choose that route. It's going to be difficult. And I don't necessarily know that they're in it. Now, I think I do believe that it shouldn't be like that. I
True.
do believe like kind of how they started the movie was kind of how it should have ended. I didn't really like the idea or the concept that the parents had to get them together before they like really realized that. Because a lot of it at the beginning was like them understanding, like off the rip, they were like, "You are not my type. I'm not your type. However, we vibe together." And
True.
so that you would hope and believe that that would be like the undercurrent to their entire relationship is like, hey, we know we're not each other's type. We know we're coming from different worlds, but the chemistry that we have, the things that we share is just so strong that I can't I can't let it go. It's not something that I can recreate in other ways. Right? Even depicted a little bit when they broke up and Jonah was going on dates and stuff like that. Which is like it just was falling flat. So I didn't truly really like that that was the way that they got together because their parents both apologized. It felt a little weak to me. However, it's also very real. Like there are a lot of scenarios where other outside forces are at play in someone's personal inner relationship. So I don't know if I answered your question, but
So yeah,
yeah, I think that does play out a lot in reality. I hate that it plays out in
I
reality.
get that.
Honestly, I
I get
would prefer, and I believe that like what matters, especially in a marriage, is like what y'all got going. Like y'all, it's really
true.
y'all against the whole world, right? It's your teammate, it's your partner. Like whatever we got going, forget everybody else.
True. True. I think that, like you said, I agree pretty much. I think that if two people love each other, it should be enough. But unfortunately, I don't think it is, man. And I heard a good TED talk about this recently. I wish I could use the analogy here. Talking about clothes, essentially. Maybe next week I'll have to come back with the analogy. It was pretty dope. But anyways, I think that you kind of need more than just that, man. You need situations to work out. Like you could have two people that really, really love each other. And if a job or like a military service takes them somewhere crazy, and it's like, well, I have to stay with my mom here. Like my mom or something is sick. I have to stay here. Well, I have to kind of go here. We do love each other, but just the way life is working in the ideal world, this distance wouldn't be a thing, but it happens. So I think you do have situations, whether it be like that. You could also have money. You could love a person and like just other
So
tendencies. You still love them and care for them, but there's so much other stuff. So in the ideal world, love would be enough, but I think there are other things that go into making
nah,
it.
for sure.
Yeah, 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 yeah.
Yeah, I think there's a compatibility, right? Like it's
Yes.
like, are we compatible? And that's why I said when my first thing was like, it's a choice because at the
Yeah.
bare, the feeling of love is not enough, in my opinion, because that fades, that changes from day to day. You just have a
True.
bad day, and if you fall in and out of love with somebody, you're gonna have a very, crazy relationship. But
True.
I think ultimately, yeah, you want to be able to have a strong enough foundation and baseline to your love that y'all kind of work it out. But it's just not always the case, bro. It's not always the case. Some things are tough, man. You got to make that choice. Like, do I want to struggle with these external factors
Mhm.
for the entirety of our relationship? And that's a real honest question, man. It's a real honest question to a lot of people.
Definitely. And then the last thing I'll say here before we move on is just I wish they could have showed also that reconciliation process a little more. Like at the very end, it was kind of like both parents apologized and like, all right, that's enough. And then even spoiler again, they just got married right after. Like, hold on, there's
That
still
was
stuff.
wild. That
Like
was
they
real
literally
wild to me.
once the parents apologized, they surprised them like, all right, guys, you guys should get married now. Like, yeah, maybe not necessarily. Could have found
In
someone
this
else
in the
new.
sneaker, yeah, like
Yeah,
that was
yeah.
a little movie like for sure.
But I wanted to see because I think it's a good point to what we're both talking about. There's times where things happen in relationships. I would have liked to see the parents work through and like to become more culturally competent, culturally aware, more sensitive to the other's needs, but
For
without like
sure.
babying it. Because I think that even the mom at first was kind of like sensitive to the fact that Black people are going through police brutality, but your approach and bringing it up wasn't great at all. You know what I mean? Like nor the
Yeah,
time or
yeah.
the place. So I would have liked to see them kind of like flesh it out a little bit, but I guess time constraints. The movie was already at 2 hours at that point. But yeah, we agree there, man. We agree there, bro.
Yeah, the pacing at the end was a little rushed, and I feel like they could have did a slightly better job. But overall, like I said, I'm not gonna mad. All right, last take. What are you giving it
Out of 10,
out of 10? What are
at
you
least a
rating this
seven.
movie out of
Probably
10?
give it a seven. Maybe 7.5. Because it did what it's supposed to. It was like I said, entertaining throughout. I did
That's
laugh.
strong.
I did. I mean, like you said, it was shot very well.
It
Um,
was shot very well.
you know, I feel like at least a seven. It did what it's not a bad movie. It was entertaining.
Yeah,
People,
I'm
I
not
think,
too
if they
far
watch it
off.
will have a good time. Yeah, a seven. Seven out of
I'm not too far off. I probably give it close to a 7, maybe a 6.8 or something like that. Like I was happy with it. Like it's not a waste of your time.
yeah.
It's definitely dope.